great pleasure to welcome you to Lane Community College. Some of you have heard me say before that community is our middle name, so bringing the community together at our place really means a lot to us. So we're honored to host this very meaningful event. Events like this are just one way that we can work together to advance human rights in our community. At times when I look out and see what is going on in our world, I feel pretty overwhelmed. There's a lot of work to do, and how can we deal with the problems that are facing our own community as well as the global community? And one of the ways, of course, we can do it is to think about what each of us can do within our own sphere of influence, take personal responsibility, and then come together around some shared goals and take action. And I think that's what we're doing today, and that kind of work can really have ripples beyond our own individual work and add energy to the larger effort. Sadly, our community is no stranger to poverty and hunger, homelessness, and all the other isms that we know are reflected in our community, including gaps in our educational opportunities. But I do believe there is some hope, and I want to tell you a story about a meeting that I had a few weeks ago. My assistant came in to me and said, I have a 6th grader from Roosevelt Middle School on the phone, and she's doing a class project, and she's going to do it on Lane Community College. And she's asking for an interview with the president of Lane Community College. And Donna said, look at your schedule. And I said, well, let's figure out a way to bring her out here. So I'm going to call her Rose, came out with her mother, and interviewed me and asked me great questions like, what is it like being the president of Lane, and what does Lane mean to you, and if you were going to come to our 6th grade class, what would you say? And at the end of the interview, I turned to Mom. It was obvious that she was a student at Lane. Turned out Dad was a student at Lane too. And this family was homeless. In our community, they managed to get a recreational vehicle, didn't have anywhere to park it, and were kind of moving around every night. And I turned to Rose and said, so Rose, what does that feel like for you as a 6th grader? And she said, I have my parents, and I have my school, and I think that's going to be enough. And the hope and the intelligence and the brightness that Rose exhibited brought home to me everything that's going on in our community and how Lane can really help with that. And these are stories that our faculty see every day in the classroom. And actually I shared the story with the faculty, and I can't tell you the number of stories I got. So it's not just Rose, it's multiple families in our community that are counting on us and counting on Lane to make the difference. So it should be no secret to you to know that I believe that access to higher education is by no means the least of human rights. It's very clear that some post-secondary education is critical to moving out of poverty. Not necessarily a bachelor's degree, not necessarily even an associate's degree, but some post-secondary education. It's the great equalizer, and it is fundamental to Lane's mission. Lane and all of the community colleges in the country provide the most affordable and accessible means to an education in America today. Community colleges now serve 46% of the undergraduates in this country. Moreover, community colleges increasingly serve as a social safety net. We are serving the most challenged in our community, and through financial aid and other sources, many of the most needy in our community are piecing together a life. Last year, we processed $65 million worth of financial aid, some of which, of course, came to Lane. Most of it went out into the community to pay rent and food and that kind of thing. This year, we will process close to $95 million worth of financial aid, which shows the need, but it also shows the economic impact of Lane just by pushing that money into our community. So when I hear people say that education is a cost, it's not a cost, it's an investment in our future, an investment in our children. Over the past few years, Lane has seen an increasing number of people coming here, not just for educational services, but for some basic respite from the hard times. Here you can find a place to sit for a while. The folks that live in the woods around the college can come down and have a shower, get a meal. Students are signing up for one class so that they can access a bus pass or a health clinic. So our work, I believe, goes beyond education to really become a social safety net. So I think community colleges are indeed society's most hopeful enterprise. I think we're small enough, local enough, and flexible enough to recognize and address local needs and to help affect change. But there are many, many challenges, not least of which is financing. And I just want to share with you that I saw a very appalling graph pretty recently. And it was looking at how money is spent in higher education. And on this side of the graph, it had what is spent on private colleges and universities. And the amount that was spent was like this, and the number of students served was like this. And it went through Tier 1 and research and regional universities, and over here we got to community colleges. And the number served was like this, and the amount spent was like this. A third of what is spent on students in private education. And when you look at what makes up this group of people that community colleges serve, it's the most underrepresented, it's the most underprepared, and they're largely first-generation students. So when we think about this issue of financing of higher education, we've got to understand that this is an issue of equity. It's an issue of educational rights, it's an issue of civil rights, and it's an issue of human rights. And until we stand up and demand that the most equitable part of our educational system needs the funding to perform miracles so that students can truly transform their lives, we're really not going to be able to make the changes in our community that we want to. Lane's educational programs serve diverse populations, whether it's the traditional high school student or the middle and high school students that come to the Rites of Passage program founded by Greg Evans, or the College Now program that works with students in their high schools so that they can get a head start on their college degree. We're guided by core values that were developed through college-wide dialogue that are grounded in social justice, sustainability, diversity, and learning. And at Lane, we also offer activities beyond the classroom to try and affect positive change for our students, for our employees, and the community. Activities such as our Peace Center, led by Stan Taylor, which works to stimulate awareness and discussion through summits similar to this one today. Our leadership team recently participated in a study circle on racism so that we can educate ourselves and know what all of the challenges are. And we participate in regional and national organizations to help keep this community connected on a broader level. I'm very privileged to participate in national groups and organizations which hold the same values that bring all of us here today, including lobbying very hard to pass the DREAM Act, which will allow our immigrant children access to higher education. And a new citizen of the United States, I'm grateful that our nation has a president who recognizes the potential of community colleges and expresses support for the work that we do through his many actions, and wants us to help not only provide access to community colleges, but success for our students so that they can go out in the world and support their families and support their communities. The challenges faced by our president and by our community are significant in these times of just very, very uncivil discourse. But it means that we need each other more than ever. We need to work together to achieve balance in our local and global society. Learning about human rights is the first step towards respecting, promoting, and defending those rights. Education means conveying ideas and information and nurturing the values and attitudes that will create the rights and freedoms to which all human beings are entitled. That's what we'll be doing today, and I want to thank you for being here.